there's something that like is counterintuitively protective about being the performer. And there is a deep connection happening with the audience, but it's like it's happening as a group. And so the vulnerability of that one-on-one, like the smaller the crowd gets, the more intense it gets.
Mm-hmm.
But there's something that I really love about being somebody who is okay with talking about the really vulnerable stuff, because I know I experience it. I know everyone else experiences it in their own way. I rarely talk about the exact details of the personal place that the song comes from, and that, in fact, as we all know, because we love music, it doesn't matter what my facts are. It just matters that there's a door open for other people to step into the song and make it theirs, and that's so. And I do like talking about what's actually, difficult about living.
Welcome to the Back Catalog Listening Party, your weekly musical happy hour where musicians pick an album from their back catalog and tell the stories behind their favorite tracks in front of a live online audience.
This week we talk with Juno Award-winning songwriter Rose Cousins. We revisit her 2009 album The Send-Off, talk about inspiring poets, her love of film scores, and her unique connection to the piano. So pour a beverage, grab a snack, and kick back as we listen to music together here on the Back Catalog Listening Party, where it's always Friday and old albums never sounded better. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
And welcome to the Back Catalog Listening Party. My name is Mother Banjo, one of your hosts.
My name is Anthony Ihrig, the other host.
And today we have joining us all the way from across the border in Canada, Rose Cousins.
Hi.
Folks are excited for the party coming early. We got Chris live and remote from Savage, Minnesota. Time for a good time. I agree, Chris. We need it bad. Connie joining us from Richfield.
Hey, Connie.
And Joe catching the show here in Minneapolis. And Minnesota representing well tonight. Let us know where you are tuned in from, if you're enjoying a beverage or a snack. This is our weekly musical happy hour where we invite our favorite artists on to revisit old records and talk about them with you. And Tony, I know it's kind of cold here in the Twin Cities. Do you have any beverage to warm you up tonight?
I do. I'm trying something new. This is another in the Trail Magic series. It's a mimosa flavored THC seltzer that I'm enjoying in my back catalog listening party podcast.
The only way to enjoy a beverage. And Rose, are you enjoying any kind of beverage or snack tonight?
I'm living on the edge, and I double bagged a licorice and a ginger tea. That's double bagging.
Whoa.
That's next level.
Yeah. That's a serious vocalist.
That's tomorrow morning. I'm trying it.
2 teas. David joining us from Andover with a lemon elderberry tea, another tea person. So welcome,
all right,
David.
Maybe consider putting another bag in. I'm just saying.
I know. Live on the edge. I am enjoying some of my finest box wine right now, red, because
Excellent.
it's the season. So cheers, everyone.
Cheers.
What was that?
I said, what kind? Red.
Red.
Yes.
Yeah. It's a red blend. I don't know.
It's the red one.
I put the glass under the spigot and this is what comes out. High class here.
Our friend Alyssa, our newest Patreon member, is joining us with an iced coffee from Knoxville, Tennessee. Welcome, Alyssa. So great to have you here. And we have a Linda joining us from New Haven, Connecticut, also drinking tea. All right. Good night for tea.
Yeah, it's your people, Rose, joining us tonight. And we are so excited. I've been wanting to have Rose on the show a long time, but she is a busy lady and is currently working on a new record, which we're going to talk more about. But she's taking a break from all that to enjoy some music with us and to talk about one of her old records. And we're going to dig back pretty far tonight to talk about her 2009 album, right? The Send-Off. But before we do, Rose, maybe for folks who are a little less familiar with your music than I am, you could give a brief origin story of like where you grew up and how you fell into making the music that you make.
I grew up on Prince Edward Island, which is Canada's smallest province and also an island, on a potato farm. I'm one of 5 siblings. And I feel like I got some good musical genes. My mom is very musical, and so I feel just kind of lucky. And maybe being a child of the 1900s, didn't have a lot of talking about my feelings when I was growing up, and so I just like played them into the piano. Um, and yeah, the like music was kind of a place that I went, and I would say the piano was probably my closest friend and confidant. Um, So, I don't know. I mean, that's a short version. Music has always been a really important part of my life. I'm not sure that I knew that I would become a performer. I know that music in movies, musical score was the first thing that I ever thought that I would like to do. I still haven't done it, and I hope to do it before I perish.
Nice.
Yeah,
Put that out into the universe now.
yeah,
Yeah.
man.
Can I ask was there a particular score that kind of hit you the first time that you remember?
I think I think it was I wasn't I probably the one with the deepest impact is from the movie The Piano.
Oh, that's a
Holly
great,
Mhm.
Hunter.
great film.
And
Yeah.
Wow.
that music, like, went right to my bone, and, I mean, the movie's exceptional, but I mean, The Piano is just like a deep and close, friend, and, yeah, that soundtrack, you know, brings me to my knees.
Nice. I have to revisit that one soon.
Yeah, yeah. And for folks who've seen you perform live, they've made you probably seen you play on the piano or keyboard as well as play guitar. So when did the guitar enter into the arena?
Um, First year university, I did have a friend in high school who played guitar, but it was really, when I moved into residence when I went to university, um and there was a girl named Sarah who was, a few doors down from me, and I like saw that she had a guitar, and I was like, "You're going to teach me how to play guitar." And so her guitar ended up just being in my room all the time, and she showed me very basic chords, and then like the finger picking pattern for Indigo Girls' Ghost, and
Hmm.
um, and I was off. I was just like I was playing E for probably 2 months, and then by the end of my first year of university, I had put $75 down on this guitar at the Folklore Center here in Halifax, and it was so sweet. My friends from residence, well, one girl who was like became a really close friend, like did a collection and collected like $90 from my friends in the
Oh,
residence. So
nice.
on my birthday, I was going to go buy it on my birthday, and so I took my $90 and went down and paid the rest, and it was so that's kind of then I had my own guitar, and it was the rest is history.
And did songwriting start before that? Was it piano where you were writing your own material? Where did that inspiration come from to start actually
Yeah,
composing?
honestly, I really had as I say, a really intimate relation and very private relationship with the piano and just instrumental music. And I did write instrumental songs when I was very young, in through like when I, in through to the end of high school. And at the end of high school, I was kind of uh, getting into Sarah McLachlan
Mhm.
and started to learn her songs on the piano. So I would say she was a gateway to kind of singing and playing at the same time. And then yeah, once I kind of probably finished my first couple of years of university, like I met a friend Ryan who took me to my first open mic, and
Hmm.
I just was learning so many songs on the guitar. The guitar was like easier and more portable to learn songs quickly on. Um, and I was still, writing my own instrumental stuff on the piano, but it was just so deeply private.
Mhm.
Um, so it probably wasn't until the late 1900s, if you remember them.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Oh yeah.
yeah, that I really was like, I really wanted to write my own songs with lyrics. And I was just binging Joni's Blue and Sean Colvin and Ani DeFranco and Jonathan Brooke and just all the alternate tuning ladies, um,
Yeah.
and yeah, just trying to kind of fill myself with the music that I loved so much that I felt was like lyrically poignant.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those artists all
Well,
fit that category.
yeah, for sure. And well, I am itching to hear some music. So we can sort of dig more into your songwriting. And again, this album we're going to revisit tonight is your 2009 release, The Send Off. It was the second album I was familiar with, but maybe you had earlier albums I'm not familiar with. So where does this fit in your discography?
This is my second full-length record.
Mm-hmm.
I have a couple of EPs, a first full-length record, and then this one.
So this is the second full-length record. Came out in 2009, and we're going to start off with I Were the Bird. Is there anything you want to say about it before we take a listen?
No.
Okay.
All right. Let's give it a spin. This is Rose Cousins' I Were the Bird here on the Back Catalog Listening Party.
Seabirds soaring weightless above the sea, wings wide for the wind to rush underneath, open arms and everything to see. I wish I were the bird and it were me. High white waves as the ocean churns, rushing the shoreline under the bird. Nothing is settled, everything is stirred. She is like me, and I'm like her. Seabird soaring high looks so free, bearing its heart for the world it would sing. Flying all alone all day, does it dream that I were the bird and it were me? That I were the bird and it were me.
All right. Rose Cousins
Nice.
here on the Back Catalog Listening Party with I Were the Bird from her 2009 album, The Send Off, which we are revisiting today. And folks loving the music. And it's been a while since I've listened to that tune. Probably longer for you, right, Rose?
Maybe.
One of the things that struck me was that guitar part. You were mentioning all kinds of female songwriters that you found inspiring, your alternate tuning ladies, as you're calling them, Joni Mitchell and Jonathan Brooke and all these folks. I was hearing a lot of Suzanne Vega kind of in that track as well. And there's something about that guitar riff that reminded me of Suzanne Vega. But also striking are the vocals and the string parts. So tell us a little bit about who's performing on that.
Well, the record was produced by Luke Doucette of Whitehorse fame, although he was himself before he was part of Whitehorse. And I chose him to produce this record because I fell in love with his record from 2001, Broken, and other rogue states. So he's playing guitar, all the atmospheric stuff. Guitar you hear is him. His friend Rich Levesque played bass. My friend Kinley Dowling, who is also from Prince Edward Island, plays viola. And then me. I think that's it. Maybe.
And were you doing all those vocal parts then? Was that Many Roses?
I think it was Many Roses. I think so.
It was just a beautifully recorded song. That bass that was really striking right away.
Yeah.
And I couldn't help but hear like almost a little room sound in there. And I'm always so interested in how these songs come together, whether they're kind of built over a click track or you're all in one room at the same time. It just had a real organic feel. I'm wondering if you guys weren't together.
Yeah, we were together. There was a studio in Hamilton, Ontario called Catherine North. And it is an old church. So it's like it's like the sanctuary. It's not a huge room, but not a tiny room. And
but I was here in that room. Yeah.
Yeah. You definitely would have heard the room. So I would have been in the room. I think Rich was isolated. His bass was isolated. Yeah, Luke would have done it in the room. We definitely would have done bass and guitar at the same time. And then added layers. But yeah, it's a really beautiful studio. That one was recorded there. We did some of them. There was another studio that I did some of the songs in that was in Toronto proper as well. But that one was in a church.
In a church. Great. Well, for those of you who are just tuning into the podcast, we're going to try to collect links to all of these people, places, and things and put them in the show notes at backcataloglisteningparty.com.
That's right. And Connie wanted, and this seems like a good time to talk about this, Connie wanted to know about the cover art to this album, which I think is appropriate given the song we just heard was I Were the Bird, and has some really beautiful, is that based on a paper cut or a print?
It's actually, it's a proper painting by my friend that I commissioned for the cover by my friend Daniel Ledwell. Who is the partner of Jen Grant. I'm not sure if you know her music, but she's a magical unicorn. And he is also a magical unicorn. And he did the cover paintings for my first 2 records. So that's what this one is. So he would have heard the songs, and I knew it was going to be called The Send Off. And I do really love the cover art as well. It's something's magical about it.
It's so beautiful. It kind of, for those of you who are just listening to the podcast, again, the cover art will be up at backcataloglisteningparty.com. Or, when you go and get these high-res tracks, when you go to purchase them, you'll see it too. But it looks like these birds, but they also kind of look like they're sort of tethered with strings, sort of, which I think is really cool. So do you have the original artwork? Like, is there a painting hanging somewhere in your house with that?
It's artwork? Not hanging. I do have it. I have both of those original paintings for my first 2 records from him. Yeah.
Awesome.
Nice. Well, great question, Connie. And if you guys are out there, I saw a few people have entered the room here. Christy, welcome. If you're new to the show and you're just listening and you're listening live, this is a conversation. So definitely get your questions and comments in for Rose, and we'll try to get to them before the end of the hour.
That's right. And Joe had a question. Do you have some favorite poets? In Feel and Craft, this puts me in mind of The Wind Hover by Gerald Manley Hopkins. Do you have any favorite poets?
I'll have to look that up. I do. I have lots of favorite poets. There's a poet here in Halifax. Her name is Sue Goyette, Goyette. She's one of my favorites. I also really love Jane Hirschfield and Wendell Berry and Billy Collins and Charles Bukowski and Lydia Davis and Louise Gluck. I never know how to say her last name. Poetry is absolutely one of my favorites. I love it. So I'm happy to take recommendations if anyone wants to put them in the chat. I would love to know poets that you love. Absolutely.
That's a great idea, Joe. I know you probably have a few, so that is a great question. Thanks, Joe.
Yeah, definitely. And I don't know, do you remember where this song started? I know you were talking about how the piano for you was sort of deeply private, like writing tunes on the piano. But it's interesting to me that you ended up being a performer of songs, which is kind of like you're writing all this stuff internally and you're sharing it with a whole big audience. Yeah, I'm just kind of curious. Does that feel less private than doing the instrumental stuff, or is it just a transition that happened with your music?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. There is an intimacy connected to the physical body of a piano for sure. The guitar is more portable, and it's just a different relationship. It's more of a rhythmic relationship, whereas the piano is languid, and it can be rhythmic, but for me, it's more of a languid feel. So, yeah, did I answer the question?
Yeah, I was just curious because, so many of your songs are, feel very deeply personal. And so it's just interesting to me that you're like, oh, this was a private thing I did, but now I'm going to share these personal secrets.
Yeah. Well, it is true. It certainly is an evolution. Like I played covers for forever. And then there's something that like is counterintuitively protective about being the performer. And there is a deep connection happening with the audience, but it's like it's happening as a group. And so the vulnerability of that one-on-one, like the smaller the crowd gets, the more intense it gets. But there's something that I really love about being somebody who is okay with talking about the really vulnerable stuff, because I know I experience it. I know everyone else experiences it in their own way. And I rarely talk about the exact details of the personal place that the song comes from. And that, in fact, as we all know, because we love music, it doesn't matter what my facts are. It just matters that there's a door open for other people to step into the song and make it theirs. And that's, so, and I do like talking about what's actually, difficult about living, like Ken Yates says, surviving is easy and living is hard. And I just feel like that sentiment is so true. And like, if we're not talking about it, then we're faking ourselves out. There's relief in being like, yeah, that's hard. Me too.
Yeah. I think we're all feeling that a bit these days.
Yeah, 100%. And that's why music is so healing is
Exactly.
we can relate together. It's hard. Hey there, would you like to be part of the live show? Well, become a member of the Back Catalog Listening Party Patreon, and you'll get a backstage pass to weekly online tapings where you can ask the artist questions and participate in the live chat with a fun community of like-minded music nerds. You'll also get a first look at upcoming guests and receive invitations to special live streams and private after parties. So join the party today at patreon.com/Back Catalog Listening Party.
I am so happy that you're here to share these songs with us. And the next song we picked to feature is White Daisies. And I'd love to know also, for some of these songs, did Ira the Bird and this song, did they both start on the guitar, or were either of these songs ones that were on piano and then later you played guitar on them when you wrote
Ira the
them?
Bird. Yeah, Ira the Bird started on guitar. White Daisies was played on mandola. I can't remember if I played that I don't think did I play on the record? I haven't listened to this song in a long time.
You get to find out.
It was written on mandola.
Interesting.
Very simple. It's got very simple chords. And then I recorded it on. Pretty sure I recorded it on guitar, but we'll see once you hit play.
Okay. Well,
that's the
let's
beauty
find
of the
out.
Back Catalog Listening Party. It's like live liner notes. We get to discover who and who's playing what. And we're going to enjoy this track, White Daisies, now from Rose Cousins here on the Back Catalog Listening Party.
You sent me a pencil drawing in the likeness of yourself from a picture I had taken in the time beforehand. But you don't have to remind me of when we were so brand new. As I lie here tired and quiet, empty of the love I had for you. You sent me flowers when you were strong. You were my baby a whole year long. All you could tell me is how I'd done wrong. Now I've got white daisies and some sun. You sent me flowers when you were strong. You were my baby a whole year long. All you could tell me is how I'd done you wrong. I've got white daisies and some white daisies and some song.
All right. White
Nice.
Daisies from Rose Cousins' 2009 album, The Send Off, which we're revisiting today here on the Back Catalog Listening Party with Rose joining us from our home in Halifax, Nova Scotia. And folks loving the music. And Chris chiming in to say, maybe it's simple chords for the instruments, but your vocal musicality takes it to a great place. And I would agree. And there's a lot of things going on with the instrumentation again in that. The build of it is so beautiful.
Thank
And
you. Thank you.
Yeah, that pedal steel, man, that just got
Yeah.
to me right there. Who is
I'm
who's playing the
just
pedal?
having an absolute, and you're gonna ask me, I'm like, oh
Oh.
my God. I was just like,
It's okay.
like, oh God, I don't remember the name of the, oh God.
That was it's okay. We can look it up.
Yeah.
But it was gorgeous.
So great. So great.
And I just love the textures that and the electric guitars, that like kind of ambient, just a washes over the whole sound, but somehow glues it all together. It's a really beautiful thing. Was that mostly coming? You mentioned the producer was playing the guitars on that. Is that was that kind of his contribution to the production of it, or are you involved in that part too, kind of dictating like all the different textures and layers that you want to hear?
Yeah, I would say like I wanted him to produce the record because I loved his playing, and that layering of emotion is what I wanted. I really, really loved his record, and I wanted, like, it's lush. And I wanted that lushness, and I think the record that is definitely his guitar playing is something that is a prominent voice on the record, and I love it.
Yeah. It sounds amazing. And I would agree that the whole record has that kind of warmth
Yeah.
to it, which is really beautiful. And, the album's called The Send Off. And I feel like, again, I first got to know your music through your previous record. But I feel like this album, all of a sudden, when this album came out, you were like everywhere in the folk world all of a sudden. And I don't know if it felt like that to you with boots on the ground and touring, but it felt like a lot of people, certainly at least stateside, were paying a lot of attention to that album. And I was just curious if you felt like when this album came out that it kind of launched anything new for you, or was it just another record?
I mean, not a single one of my records have been just another record. I feel like every one of them has been like a feat of emotion and learning, and yeah, it's no small thing. None of them have been small things for me. Um, you know, this I remember being at this record. I was kind of worried because my first one was quite folky and like maybe a little tinge of bluegrass, and I was worried that I was going to alienate those people who loved that, and that they might not like this. So I think I remember having worry about that. Um, but I don't know that I remember. I don't know. I wouldn't have experienced it like. But it's cool to hear that you have a memory of it doing a thing. That's really cool. Um, yeah, I feel lucky that I came through at the time that I came through, which was uninterrupted by social media dilution, and that our folk community was like thick and rich, and we still are. And there's just a lot of noise. So I feel very thankful for the channels, the radio channels that it came in through. And, like Pandora was really new when my first record came out, and they're the first people that ever played it. Like they were, obviously we know they were groundbreaking, to have an online radio kind of thing. So I do feel very lucky for the number of folk DJs that picked up my first record. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I've followed your career, and every record has been great. And we're really excited about the new record coming out March 14th. And you were just talking about every album is a big deal. And it is. You put so much, time and soul and money into these projects. And I know you're in the thick of it right now, but is there anything you want to tell us about the upcoming record?
It's called Conditions of Love, Volume 1. Yeah, I think I wrote it in the latter part of the pandemic. I think being forcibly home, like kind of everybody was an interesting experience and a new kind of way of reflecting on myself. Like, I didn't have my work to distract me from the things that I may have been avoiding. Maybe, like waking up and being like, why am I all of a sudden surrounded by mirrors? I don't know who put these mirrors here. And like, facing yourself in a different way, facing relationships. My curiosity about relationships will always remain. I think it's the thing that's most interesting. And like the relationship, I think my Bravado record really was like a look at myself. And that look, I'm interested in it. I'm interested in struggle. And then looking outward a little bit more, the Conditions of Love is just kind of like, all the different ways that we try and employ love. That's such a like a harsh word to say. It's not employ, but it's just kind of like, how do we, what is it even? Like society tells us that it can be applied here in marriage, it can be applied here in parenthood, in friendship. Friendship's the one I revere the most. The other ones feel very complicated, and I'm interested in, examining complicated things. So, as a wide umbrella, that's kind of the gist. And honestly, that's probably the struggle with relationship and love is a deep and probably never ending curiosity for me, and is probably the umbrella over all of my work. And I think I just kind of am getting closer and closer in as I make records and get older, I'm just kind of like, wait, okay. Like, oh, am I going to hone in on anything that really is like distilled down? No, but I do think I'm distilling,
Mhm.
and growing as a writer. And so, yeah.
Wonderful. Well, if you are listening here on the live chat here tonight on the Back Catalog Listening Party, you can support Rose Cousins' album. She has a Kickstarter going on, and is there anything you want to say about it, Rose?
No, I have a goal of reaching $50,000 by Valentine's Day, and I'm at $50,000 Canadian. And so I think I'm at almost 33 right now, so I have a week and a half left. If anyone's interested in getting a copy of the new record or checking it out, that's the best way you could support me right now.
And I hear that maybe at one of the levels you might be able to pick up this album we're revisiting tonight, The Send Off, maybe as
Maybe,
a thank you gift.
yeah.
Maybe. Well, no, we
I
don't
have a
know. So
limited, I have a limited
limited.
number left. Yeah, yeah.
Excellent.
Well,
So
you better jump on it, folks. We have Rose's URL scrolling across the screen right now, so you can type that in. But on the comments, I'm going to put in the actual URL to the Kickstarter, and I recommend copying, pasting that now. So right after the show, you can click on it and support Rose and her new record.
highly recommended. I've done it, and I think you guys should too, because I cannot wait for another Rose Cousins record. So, we're going to get back to your back catalog here to revisit The Send Off. Next track is the title track. Is there anything you want to say about this before we get to it?
This chapter, i.e. record, was definitely influenced by the passing of my grandmother, who I was very close with, and the coming into the world of my first niece, who just got her driver's license. Yeah. So the send off. This song, the send off, is about my grandmother, and my grandmother's passing.
Right. This is Rose Cousins, The Send Off, here on the Back Catalog Listening Party.
We drove behind the big red car.
Beautiful. Rose Cousins with the send off the title track to her 2009 release, which we're revisiting today with Rose Cousins joining us live from Halifax. And yeah, I love, again, just these arrangements, especially like just bringing in the strings just at the end right there. It's just so beautiful.
Well, just how it broke down, like this really felt like a send off of sorts. Like it really kind of just like dissipated into the ether in such a beautiful way. That was amazing.
Yeah, really nice. Oh, I think you're muted, Rose. And
Whoops.
whoops. And Chris had a question. Rose, have you ever rocked with Blue Rodeo? Don't all
Obviously,
Canadians
I'm
Canadians
yeah,
know each other?
yeah, no, yeah, I've rocked with Blue Rodeo. I'm glad that you know them. Where are you? Where's Chris?
Uh,
Oh, what did he
Chris
say?
is
Chris
from
is in
Minnesota.
Savage,
Okay, yeah,
Minnesota.
nice.
There's
Yeah, yeah, I love Blue Rodeo. Good buds.
So good. And speaking of, obviously this was recorded, you said, partly in Hamilton, Ontario, and partly in Toronto. And you have, a whole bunch of great Canadian players on this record and some
Mhm,
notable names like, Kathleen Edwards and some
mhm.
other big folks.
There
Were
is
these,
Christopher, the guy who plays there's Hammond, uh, there's B3 on this, and the guy who played with Blue Rodeo is on this, and I I can't remember the guy who plays steel, but I think he might also be associated with. So, oh
Mm.
God,
nice.
I'm terrible. I need the album notes. I'm a terrible person.
We'll make sure to compile them at
We will compile them.
cataloglisteningparty.com.
Exactly.
Creating an archive of all the liner notes that you want to read.
Exactly. And when you were obviously you picked Luke to produce the record, did you select the other players, or did he kind of assemble this cast?
Yeah, he assembled the cast. I wanted Kinley, so I flew Kinley up because I love and trusted her, and we wanted to have some strings on it. There was also a cellist that came as well, and I kind of hoped that Kathleen Edwards, like I knew that she and Luke were friends, and she at that time was living in Hamilton, so it was convenient for her to drop by. So that's great. But yeah, he assembled the cast, and they were so wonderful. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool. And I'd be a little curious about your writing practice. Obviously, you always have this sort of draw to the piano and to the instruments. When you write, are you someone who writes every day, or do you just write when the inspiration strikes, or do you have to carve out time to do it?
Yeah, I wish I had a discipline about it. And at the same time, it's okay that I don't. um, I find it when I'm in album writing mode, it's like my favorite. And so I'm allowed to kind of wander through the days and wander to the instrument. And it's such a beautiful time. And right now I'm in like hardcore handcuff admin, which a lot's less time for playing and creating, and there's more of like an administrative clench happening. So yes, but I am deliberate about. There's a few different ways. Like every year, I go on a writing retreat with all my Boston friends for a week, and that is precious and beautiful. I go to a film and TV writing camp with my publishing company once a year as well, and that's like a different part of my. It's a different kind of writing. And then I set up my own like co-writes throughout the year to kind of just keep the juices flowing. And then I find, I find that I have for my own stuff, big creative bursts. Like I got the idea, I watched an independent film, a Canadian independent film on an airplane, and something that a character said was like, I wrote down conditions of love. And I was like, that is the theme under which I will write my next record. And the same thing happened for Bravado, and then the other natural conclusion seemed to be a body of work when it came together, but it wasn't. I can't be like, and now I will write a record, and then I do it. It certainly happens over a stretch of time, and it takes a lot of thinking. And I just love being in that mode, and I am not in that mode all the time, and hopefully someday I will be more.
Yeah.
Yes.
Once
Well,
I make my millions on my folk songs, I'll be able to just write.
The Back Catalog Listening Party is brought to you by EFS Publicity. Founded by veteran publicist, promoter, DJ, and musician Ellen Stanley, EFS brings an artist's perspective to the table, working to help clients get to the next level in their career. Services include national and international media campaigns, radio promotions, tour press, crowdfunding, grant writing, and more. Get a quote or set up a consultation today at efspublicity.com.
You kind of talked about having this inspiration for the album, like a theme. And when you approach like this record or your new one that you're going to be putting out, does that theme also affect like the instrumentation that you want on the record or any other kinds of adjectives you might give to a producer or something like that? Was there anything like that went into this record, or if you can't remember, how about your current one that you said, you know what, I'm really fascinated with this idea with creative boundaries, sometimes giving you more liberties.
Yeah.
And I'm just curious if you've put any on the project we're listening today or the one that's coming out later this year.
The ingredient to the one we're listening to today was very much Luc Doucet. I very much wanted that sound and that feel. My next record, We Have Made a Spark, was very much that I wanted to make it live with my friends in Boston. The Natural Conclusion record, which is very much that I wanted to have Joe Henry produce, that it was intentional in that way. Bravado, I very much wanted to produce on my own and choose players that I wanted, and that was going to be the sound. And this most recent record, Conditions of Love, that's coming out in March, I co-produced with my longtime drummer who also played on Bravado and also played in my Natural Conclusion band, who'd been moved back to Nova Scotia. And he sent me to look at a piano for him, and I ended up purchasing a piano, which then became the backbone of Conditions of Love. So it's all on piano. And it's interesting because the record we're listening to now, The Send Off, I was just, when I was like going on tour and playing out, I wasn't playing any piano because it's hard to carry a piano with you. It's hard to fly with a piano. So I wasn't playing any piano. And on The Send Off, I was just kind of like, it is my first instrument. And so I kind of crept it back in on 2 or 3 songs, I think. And then I just slowly allowed it to creep back in. And now I am back. This is probably the most like instrumentally intimate because I am communing with the piano. The piano is the backbone to this most recent one. So yeah, yes, there is always an intention that kind of seems to inform what will be the sound of the record, whether it's live in a room or it's a specific group of people or a specific producer. I do like to do it kind of differently each time.
Nice.
Well, if you want to get Rose's music, you can go to rosecousins.com. You can explore her back catalog. And also the new album comes out March 14th. So you'll want to pick that up. Also, she's on tour. So you'll want to check all of that out. Whether you're listening to the podcast or in the live show, rosecousins.com is where you want to go and to do all those things. And and as Rose Cousins mentioned, when she makes her millions from folk music, and you can be a part of that.
That's right.
Making those millions by buying those records, buying the merch, and buying tickets to shows.
Yeah, do it because, like Rose said, she's mired in the admin right now and would probably rather be writing the next record. And being an independent artist is really difficult. It's a vocation. It's something that people put their entire lives into. And purchasing like an album these days, whether it's a CD or vinyl or even the high resolution digital files, it goes such a long way to let the artist know that you want them to keep producing music. And it's, also worth like 1 million times more than a stream. So I think that now would be a great time to bookmark rosecousins.com.
That's right. And we're going to get to some more music. But before we do, this is our opportunity to thank the folks that keep our coffers full enough to keep the party going from week to week. And this is our Patreon community. And these are the folks that, keep the show going. Also, they get to get invited to the live taping. So if you're listening to the podcast and you're wondering, how do I get involved in the show? How do I participate in the questions and all that stuff? You can join our Patreon, just like Penny, Ann, Alinda, Bevan, Connie, Vaughn, Alan, Chris, Becky, Peggy, Joe, Jim, Beverly, John, Fred, Tim, Sarah, David, Jocelyn, Matt, Steve, Mark. Homestead Pick and Parlor is Severin, Lynn, Mary, Nikki, Joni, David, CJ, Wiley, Stephanie, Christy, Diane, Hetty, Sandy, Neighbor Ann BZ, and Alyssa. And if you would like to join our Patreon, just go to patreon.com/back catalog listening party, or you can get there from our website. And you can pick up, while supplies last, the Founders Back Catalog Listening Party pint glass, which is now empty. I see,
Yes,
Tony.
yeah, that's always,
good
it's a
happy
good
hour.
conversation when it's gone early. But yeah, and most importantly though, it's like you're here supporting these independent artists. So when you show up live and chat with them and ask questions and things like that, it goes a long way to helping them realize how important this music is to you and to the community that surrounds it.
And as Rose said, each album is a big deal. And one of the things we really believe here at the Back Catalog Listening Party is, and Tony and I know this because we're musicians, people sometimes forget after a year, about your record. And we don't forget about the records, and we know music lovers don't either. And these are great pieces of art that deserve to be shared and revisited and talked about, not just in the 6 months that you're promoting it. So we appreciate you being here, and we really appreciate Rose for joining us. And this next track that we're going to feature from the send-off is All the Time It Takes to Wait. And I believe this is one of those piano numbers, right?
That's right.
Is there anything you want to say about the tune?
No, you go ahead and play. We're running out of time. So,
Okay.
All right, this is Rose Cousins, All the Time It Takes to Wait, here on the Back Catalog Listening Party.
You and your whiskey, me and my heart undone. You say that you miss me. I wanna hear that from the sober one. I know that you get lonely. I get lonely too. But you've got this sadness you've been holding on to. All the time it takes to wait. All the time. All the time it takes to wait. All the time. I get so tired of trying to save you. Your love wrapped in bargains you've got you and your whiskey. The captain and his first mate. You say that you're sorry. Oh, the time it takes to wait.
All right. Rose Cousins here on the back catalog listening party with All the Time It Takes to Wait from her 2009 album, The Send Off. And, I love a slow fade like that. That was really beautiful.
Yeah,
And
that drummer was getting loose there at the end. I was just wondering how, if there was if there was even a time that you guys knew you were going to end it. That one, Rose, I think you might be muted, or that one was just going to be just see what happens.
No, I mean, I know I was playing Whirly, which would have been protected from, sound things. And I know I was facing the drummer. I'm pretty sure. So I don't know if we don't know. It kind of sounds at a moment, it's like, are we going to finish here? I don't really know.
Yeah, I love that.
Crazy to hear this version because I also did a version of both White Daisies, which is on this record, and All the Time It Takes to Wait on my next record. And the versions are very different.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about that because I've always loved this song, and I've heard you play it live, like on a piano at a show, and and the other version, I'd forgotten. Yeah, just about some of those sort of tempo changes, and when the drums come in and all of it, and I was like, I forgot about that whole like coda of the song. It just is so great.
Yeah, and Kathleen Edwards is singing on this one. She's several of those voices are hers. Yeah.
Oh, so beautiful.
I love those harmonies. There's some really interesting intervals in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really great. And this song, I'm guessing that you wrote it on a piano and then you just decided to record it on Whirly?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
That was the decision, yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's such again, it adds to that warmth that we were talking about, that sort of musical palette that goes throughout this record.
Yeah. And for those of you who are listening on headphones, and I definitely would suggest you give this a spin on some nice headphones or some stereo speakers. Like just the stereo field in this recording and in this production is part of the sound. And so you hear the swells of guitars moving from one ear to the other, and that Wurlitzer, and everything it really is. It's like a whole world that opens up when you listen to a record like this in stereo. So just a plug to if you're just listening on your phone or on your computer speaker or something, definitely give it another spin with some proper audio gear.
That's right. And again, we recommend getting the high-res files if you can get those, because it will sound a lot better, because we're listening to the real deal and it sounds so dang good. So if you're liking what you're hearing in the podcast, it's even better if you get the files. Rose says she might have a couple copies, so you can get in touch with her at rosecousins.com and find out if you can get your hands on a CD copy. But man, this has been such a great hour. I could spend a whole nother hour listening to this music with you, Rose. But we know you have an album to put out or something
Yeah,
like
there's
that.
probably some work to do.
Thanks so much.
Well, our friend Chris says, thanks, Rose, and Back Catalog Listening Party crew for a great show. And Chris is saying, see you in the U.S. soon. I do believe there's a date coming through our neck of the woods, right?
That's right.
Yes.
March 8th, right? At the Cedar
Yep.
Cultural Center in Minneapolis with Chris Delmhorst, another past Back Catalog guest. So that will be a great double bill for those of you who are tuned in from Minnesota. But you're playing lots of places. So rosecousins.com is the best place.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep. That's the best place to find out where I will be.
Excellent. Well, thank you all for joining us. As always, this is our favorite hour of the week. It's a respite from a lot of the other things happening in the world, and getting to just listen to music with no agenda, with fellow music lovers really means so much to us right now. And we're really grateful for you all, for whether you're listening to the podcast or whether you've joined in on the live taping. We're happy you're here. And Rose, none of this would be possible if you hadn't agreed to spend an hour away from all your admin work to hang out with us.
Ellen and I have known each other for a long time, and it's that lots of people wouldn't get hurt if it wasn't for you as well, Ellen. And it's nice to meet you, Anthony. Thank you so much, everybody, for listening. I really appreciate it.
Oh, well, we appreciate it too. And thanks everybody for tuning in. And just keep supporting independent music. And we'll see you next week here on the Back Catalog Listening Party. Cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks for joining us on the Back Catalog Listening Party. If you like what you hear, please subscribe to the podcast and leave a review, which helps more people discover our show and our guests.
And do you want to be a part of the live show, get a first look at upcoming guests, and receive invites to private online parties and live streams? Then join our Patreon community at backcataloglisteningparty.com.
Have a great week. We'll see you back here next Friday for another edition of the Back Catalog Listening Party.